Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good, excellent. Oh yeah. What about? Oh yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. No, because you had that last week. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, I'm glad she's well. All right. I'll see you later, mate. Anyway, how's everyone doing? All right. Good. Excellent. Look, this is something about Rhyme, episode 4, I think, series 2. I would have thought, and it's all good. It's all kicking off. It's all going well, and you're listening to it, which is a positive thing. And in today, I always do this. I build up the tension, and I remember that the person's name is in the title, and everyone can see your face already. There is no tension. It doesn't exist. Well, for people who are looking at you and going, "Who's that one? I don't know these," but I can't remember. He's the sort of he's the shit one. No. This is Soul, battle rap extraordinaire. Expert, I'd say, veteran in many ways. Well, in one way, in that you've been around for a while, and former champion of these here Fair Isles when it comes to battle rapping. So how you doing, man? You alright?
Yeah, not bad, man. Pretty good. Thanks for that intro. It was lovely. I do agree. I think I am a veteran in exactly one way.
Yeah,
I agree with all of that.
It'd be tricky to find a second way in which you're a veteran.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty sort of unilateral definition, but
it's pretty A and B.
Yeah,
well, that's good. We've sorted that out already, so that's fucking
thank
good,
God.
Right, before I get into the meat and veg, that's not a phrase, is it? Before I get any, right, I'm going to do the quiz. I'm going to answer the quiz questions. I don't know if you listened to this one, Jed, mate. If you heard the latest one.
No, but how about if you tell me the thing and if I can come up with it and immediately?
Yeah, this is what we tend to do for the.
This is the real quiz.
This is the real quiz. All right, let's see, and the accent's obviously going to have some effect, but listen to how I say it correctly, and then try to do it,
and then try and forget the incorrect way that I would
That's
say
right. Yeah, that you know. Sure. All right.
Cool.
So first one. All right, Corbyn Army. The Corbyn Army, and the clue was austerity.
No.
The Tory Party. All political, see?
Ah, right, yeah. And it's related as well. It's related to the Corbyn.
Alright. Number 2, and that's just number 1. Do you know what I mean? We've got 14 more.
Yeah, already floundering.
Non-compliance, and the clue was a British place. In a way, I'd say you're qualified to get this one, more so than a lot of listeners.
Say non-compliance.
Non-compliance.
Something Islands, right?
Oh, close. It's the Scottish Highlands.
Ah. It's a good one.
It's almost sort of, foreshadowing yourself coming on. Because I imagine you live in the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah, we all do.
You can see them from your window. Good.
Yeah.
All right, Dolly Parton, and the clue is London.
Covent Gardens?
Correct. All right, Gold Dust, and the clue is stationery, as in ERY at the end.
Gold Dust.
Hole Punch.
No. Hole Punch.
Something I can reorder. All right, Open Goal is the next one, and the clue is band.
Open Goal?
Yeah.
No.
Snow Patrol. All right, and then Overactor. And the clue is overactor, as in they are an overactor. They're not really, but they're an actor.
Okay.
I was just trying to be clever.
So, overactor. I usually get these ones on the quiz as well. I usually get the actor ones.
I wonder if this one might have a bit of an accent thing, actually, on the last syllable. I mean, probably not, but just the way that you said overactor, you sort of pronounce the R a bit more than I do, so I wonder if that's throwing it off.
Right, I don't know.
Right, Tony Danza. Overactor Tony Danza.
Yeah.
But you say
I think it's the A sound.
Yeah.
It's the A sound that's different.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's more of an ah. It's
right. Nicholas Hoult, and the clue is freezing.
Nicholas Hoult?
Yeah. You know the one, the little weird one from About a Boy.
Yeah.
Creepy little fucker. It's blistering cold.
Blistering cold.
But I think I will accept bitterly cold, because that is also a term. So if someone said bitterly cold, I'll take it.
I was thinking ridiculously cold, but then I was like, that's like a Jefferson Price multi, where it's just one syllable off.
All right, next one. Infantile, and the clue is straight line.
Fuck.
Single
this is
file.
embarrassing. Single file. Jesus Christ.
Twisted.
This is shocking.
Twisted ankle, and the clue is TV.
Disney Channel?
Correctoid. There he goes, bringing it back.
Jesus,
all right,
two
very
out of 50.
very few people got this one. Light and fluffy, and the clue is it's just a phrase. And there's actually, it turns out, 2 answers for this, but just a common phrase. It's quite open
Light
and
and
vague.
fluffy.
Yeah.
Nice and comfy?
That's very nice. It's good, but it's not right. It was time is money.
Ah, that's a
And
good
then
one.
someone else had something else, which I can't remember why, but I can't remember what, but it was a good one. All right, side counters, and the clue is rain forecast.
Sign counters.
Side counters, like a side counter, or well, exactly that. I just said the same thing again.
Right. Side counter and then rain.
Rain forecast. That is light showers.
Light showers.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Brian Singer, and the clue was in auctions, I'm the winner. Because that rhymes as well.
Brian Singer, highest bidder.
Correct. That's good. All right, Guy Ritchie, and the clue is cereal.
Rice Krispies.
Hey! All right, burst tire, and the clue is hymn sheet.
So burst tire.
Yeah.
Hymn sheet.
Church choir.
Ah, good one.
And then the last one is a double trouble, bubble, and that is breast reduction. And one of the clues is Twilight, and the second clue is Formula 1.
Edward Cullen and Jensen
Correct.
Button.
Hey! Smashed it, mate. Smashed it.
Not bad, not bad.
Every time I come in here, I realise I think I've gained weight every week consecutively. My face has got.
I was
going to
say
rounder.
you look very fat.
I'm
was going to say
feeling
that,
very
but
fat.
then I thought it would be rude.
No, not at all. Look, you're just saying you just call them like you sees them.
But I'm just saying what you say.
Well, yeah, I suppose in a way. Yeah. No, you've always been one of those people, haven't you? Say what's in your
Yeah,
mind.
Yeah.
Can't take me, then sorry.
Just say it how it is, mate.
Yeah.
If you don't
at the
like
end of
that,
the day.
then
Yeah, that's on you.
yeah, really, that's your problem more than anything.
Yeah, I'm glad you came on, hopped onto the old poddy, which is short for podcast, because you are basically one of the people who gave me a little nudge in the right direction when it comes to rhyme.
Yeah.
Do you want to give people a bit of like background on you and like explain your position and where you feel you are in battle rap? I guess
Yeah, could do, man. Yeah, so basically I started, I guess doing battle rap in like some form in about 2008. I want to say maybe late 2007.
Mm-hmm.
When I was I would have been about 17. Obviously there wasn't really anything up here. Like I live in Scotland, which is pretty remote as it is. But I mean, I was in a relatively remote part of Scotland, so there wasn't really any kind of like hip hop scene.
Yeah.
Or anything, so I was doing most of it online on sites where you would record your verses and someone else would record their verses and then people on the site would vote on it.
Yeah.
Or did things like called text battles where you would just like write out the lyrics and people would vote on it. And I did that for about 2 years. And then in late 2009 Don't Flop came up to Scotland and I tried out, and I've been doing it since 2009. Was champion in I think 2013. I want to say 2013 or 2014. I can't remember which one.
I think it must have been 14. Who did you?
Yeah.
Who did you win?
C major.
That's it. Yeah, I think that was 14. I think so.
Yeah. And defended it once in 2015, and then lost it in 2016. And since then, I've just been kind of doing odd battles here and there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, wicked. And so when you were starting out, when you're 17, did you say?
Yeah. About that.
Like, when did you get to a point that you sort of realised, like, basically, when do you think in your head that you got, like, good? If you forget about the self-deprecation that everyone wants to put on themselves, but, like, when did you get good? When did you get, like, quite good?
See, it's like I think there's like almost different levels, because like when you first start writing, it's like you're not even like multiing at all. You don't even like understand, and then you kind of have like these like sort of breakthrough points where you understand what a multi is. So by the time I was like doing it in Don't Flop, like I already understood what a multi was, but I wasn't good. Like I didn't understand what separated like a good multi from like a bad multi.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously there's a bunch of other stuff that goes into battle rap. But I'd say like in terms of like when my writing got good, I would say probably around like 2011, 2012, around about that time. I'd say I sort of started to really understand the writing side of it, and then maybe like around kind of 2014, because I did like 11 battles or something in 2014.
That's
it was
nice.
just like, yeah, it was nuts. So I got like a lot of practice and got to try out a lot of different things with like performance and projection, and do like sort of building arcs and like bringing people up and then bringing back down, and working out like what like how it works really well to put like, so just one example like off the top of my head, it works like really well if you have like a very long scheme, maybe like 16 bars. Right after it, you shouldn't have like another 16 bar scheme, or even like an 8 bar scheme, or even a 4 bar scheme. I think it's best if you are going to do like a really long scheme to follow that up with like a 2 bar scheme where none of the syllables match with the previous rhyme scheme. So it's like a complete contrast. Like I've done it loads of times and it's hit like every single time. So there's loads of like tiny little nuances that you pick up like throughout your time. I would say probably like 2014 was when some of that stuff started to click, and then I think like you just sort of gradually improve over time. So say like when I got like good, I would say probably around like 2014.
Okay, cool. So before that, how do you remember like how you became aware of the fact that like multisyllabic rhyming was something that you needed to have in? Like what was, because I guess to give context, when I started battling in 2012, basically about halfway through the year, and I'd been like rapping before that, and there were multis, but they were sort of like they were of no importance. There was no like significance to the rhymes, and they were just a sort of a delivery system for the fact that I know that it has to rhyme, so I just will, and I know that I want them to be multisyllabic and stuff like that. I probably thought they were good at the time, but you know, looking back, obviously they weren't. And then one of the things I think still in 2012, I was staying up with my then girlfriend, and I can't remember if we were talking a bit more then, or if you called me, or if I called you. Probably I called you, and you said you were like, this new kid on the block, I gotta get a piece of him. Hey, is that Shuffle T? Hey, you know that new sound you've been looking for? Well, listen to this.
Yeah, the sound of the summer, Shuffle T.
But like, I probably called you up looking for like advice, because I think I sort of like hero worshipped you at the time and stuff. And not now, I've grown up and you. But
of course.
Oh, but so one of the things that you told me on the phone was about like the significance of rhyme, and how like it can be more than just a. It's not just like a thing, like you have to use words, you have to use syllables, you have to use letters, and that's just part of this. You have to have a beat behind it. It's more like this can be something much more than how you're currently utilising it. Maybe I think was the idea is like this could be a whole lot more. It can have real importance, and I think that was like, even that conversation, it felt like there was almost immediately a shift afterwards in the way that I started thinking about rhymes. Like it didn't kick in right away, but I recognised what I needed to do, and that's when I started paying more attention to what I was rhyming. And there is really like a pretty quick shift between when we had that phone call and when I started employing it. And I was speaking recently about this, because on the Patreon I do something which is like watching back over my old battles and commenting over them and stuff like that. And I realised that in a battle that was not long after the phone call, I'm employing it so much, because obviously I've just learnt this thing. You get excited by it and you're like, fuck, I've got to like do this all the time. And so you over rhyme and you stretch out things. So I recognised I was doing that, and then it sort of balanced out, and then after a few years I sort of got the thing. So did you have a moment that, like the phone call with you or whatever, where there was like a specific turning point where you go, oh shit, that's what I meant to be doing?
I think like most of the stuff I just kind of learned myself slowly, but there was like, I wouldn't say it's like an exact moment, but like when Bender came out,
Yeah.
like I remembered. I almost didn't even. It's tough to say because it wouldn't have even occurred to me that like stuff being like so closely related
Yeah.
was even possible. Like I understood, like to an extent, that it was good if you could make nouns rhyme. That was better than just like, oh, you're flipping barmy. Look at this kid from Derby or whatever. Like that's like rubbish, innit? But like, so I understood that was crap, but I didn't understand like it's not like just nouns that rhyme. It like has to be like nouns that are related, or like an action that's associated with a noun, or two actions that are closely associated. Rather like more the association with each other than the fact it's just like a noun.
Yeah.
And that kind of like occurred to me like sort of when Bender came out, and I was just like listening to him, and probably like more specifically, the Atomic Bomb Designer.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
Yeah, that Dr. Robert Oppenheimer. Like, I think until I heard that, like, the thought that two things that were so closely related could be matched perfectly, syllabically, was just like such. It wasn't even something that I thought and then disregarded. It just never occurred to me that would be possible.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like it's like you need such an incredible example of that.
Yeah.
To shine up, and then you go, all right, okay, I see. Like it. This is how good it can get. So there must be loads of space between where I am and where that is.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
And then you go, you know, what are all the different avenues I can find of that?
Yeah, and also like then once you know that like something that mental, like that you would never have previously thought possible, you then start to think like, well, I do anyway. I start to think, all right, what else is possible with rhyme?
Yeah.
So like the way that I've gone with it now is like try and rather than just like trying to find like two related things and then matching them, making almost like a 4-bar scheme, just kind of like a sentence that you would say, like that doesn't sound like, oh, you've just said this to.
This is the Kruger basically approach, isn't it? Like where Kruger sounds like he's talking a lot of the time, and it just happens to rhyme.
Yeah, for sure. So like the one, like I guess the like pat myself on the back or whatever, but like the one against Tony where it's like, see my standards, I set them myself, and when I fail to reach them, I better myself. The fans set your standards, and I bet that it helps that they set it way lower for you than for anyone else. Yeah. Like it's just like it sounds like a sentence that you would say in conversation.
Yeah.
But it rhymes. So that's another thing that I was like, oh, there's no way that would be possible. You would have to have like some kind of, I don't know, like bastardization of the sentence to make it like rhyme correctly. So yeah, I guess like that, when I heard that like Atomic Bomb Designer Dr. Robert Oppenheimer scheme, it didn't just like make me think, oh, it's possible to rhyme nouns really closely. It made me think like, oh, there's must be so much that like, I didn't think was possible that is possible, and just kind of the whole new world moment or whatever on a magic carpet.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and it is crazy when you realise how many techniques there are, and obviously like, you know, the rhymes do half the work and you have to do the rest. Like, you know, things like relationships between rhymes and stuff. A lot of the time they only exist because you put them in within the context, or you make a simile that you know is original, and you connect those two ideas through something that they share that maybe isn't immediately apparent. Yeah. There are some things like Saint Peter the Gatekeeper, which, you know, Bender says, which is just like absolutely no question, that is two related things, and how fucking annoying that we didn't clock that and all that kind of stuff. But then there's also the idea of taking like, I don't know, Little Mix and Fish and Chips and going, what's the relationship here that I can make between these two things? Yeah. And then exploring that. And so a lot of the time, I guess what I'm saying is that decency, or that ability in making two things related is 50-50 between the discovery of the rhyme, which already exists and you're just finding it in the wild because this rhymes with this and it always has, and then the other half is you going, now how do I contextualise that and put it into something that's easy to consume and has some importance to it. And I guess that's one of the things that my train of thought was completely gone. But I was going to say, yeah. So basically, when we're looking at someone like Bender put together those strings and stuff, even when he has there are clearly two main things that, the punchline basically is usually the two main things that you start off with, and then you work your way back. One of the amazing things about him, and I won't make this a Bender appreciation one because we've done that, but one of the amazing things about him is that he sometimes can't even tell what was the beginner rhyme. There are so many amazing things layered throughout it that you don't necessarily see, and that's something that I think you actually share with him. When you've got these big long, like you say, 16 line schemes that all go on one solid showcase rhyme at the end, a lot of the time you can't even go, which one did he start with? It always works to a big punch, but there's all these other ones peppered through. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you is, do you kind of do what I do with the book, for example, where you make a list of rhymes by themselves, of their own, without any context, and then go, how can I put these in? Or do you just sort of naturally see where it goes and go, this works as an idea, and then pop that in as you go?
Yeah, so I never go in with a set, okay, this is how I'm going to write this battle, because there'll be a load, exceptions will come up, like you say, kind of similar with the discovery, if you find two things out in the wild that rhyme really well with each other,
yeah,
you'll find a way to shoehorn that in. But as a general principle, I kind of I think about what they're likely to say, what I'm likely, not what I'm likely to say, what they're likely to say, and the order that they're likely to say it in, and then think of a list of things that I want to say about them, and then work out the order that I want to say those things, and then fit the rhymes around that. So to be honest, when I first got good or whatever, 2014, it would always start with the rhyme, but as I feel I've got more confident in my ability to rhyme words in a natural sounding way, I feel kind of more comfortable just if I just work out what it is that I want to say, the points that I want to convey, then I can just kind of fit the rhymes around. I'll find rhymes in that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And sometimes I think when me and Theo write together, we write very differently to how we do solo kind of thing. And a lot of the time what we like to do is long strings in the same way that you do, probably to the point where we exhaust the rhyme really and go a bit too far and use shit ones that we fucking find here and there. But some of the time we do the same thing because we know we're going to be working together and two heads are better than one, and we usually sat in the same room and coming up with these ideas. We start with it and then see where it goes, and then end up, and even the context sometimes changes from, it starts being about this and it ends up being about something different. But whenever I talk to people about writing, I always say start from the back and start from the end and work backwards. But I guess that's the difference between when you become, let's say, an expert at rhyming, it becomes something that you don't need to follow that structure as rigidly, I suppose, because like you say, you trust in your own ability that you're going to go, I will be able to rhyme this, there will be a way that I can relate these ideas.
For sure. And I think definitely that is what I try to do, and I strongly believe if I was giving advice to someone that was just starting out or had just started to kind of grasp, I would definitely say work back to front. And I still do. If I come up with a piece of wordplay or whatever that I really want to use and it can only be used as a punchline, then I'll just write that punchline and then I'll work backwards, and I might tweak what the last bit of it is, in order to fit whatever rhyme scheme is.
Sure.
So instead of saying if I'm comparing something to whatever, a Coke bottle, then I might say if I'm struggling for multis or I can't really think of any related ones that fit with the idea I'm trying to convey, I might just change it to bottle of Coke or whatever, if there's more of them. So I do definitely still work back to front, but I think once you hit a good enough level, you should try work front to back as much as possible. It's not like something I would advise for like people that aren't that good, because you will inevitably just end up like getting frustrated and forcing things.
Yeah.
Like, because you're like, fuck, you'll write yourself into a corner or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, if you are really good, then I think front to back is the best way.
The funny thing about rap is that like everyone thinks they're really good. So, like,
Yeah, it's just true. It's true.
So everyone's going to be going, no, that didn't work, mate. It didn't work. Your advice didn't work.
Yeah.
Because I started it, and you said if you're really good. No.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
Do you ever do this thing like, I sometimes literally will write out a sentence that, because a lot of the time when I sort of do battles, and I definitely see this in yours as well, as something I'm sure you must do, where you just go, this isn't a wordplay punchline or anything. This is just an idea that I want to say or explain something to the audience to build that, bring them in on it. So a lot of the time you're not saying anything like very fancy. You're just plainly saying something. And when I come up against or like want to introduce one of those, I find that I just will literally write out like, how would I say this if it wasn't rhyming? Like, what is the purest version of the sentence that I want to say? And then just go, right, okay, this is the whole idea. So now I'm just going to basically take that idea and the last couple of words, use that as a rhyme scheme, and then go back and sort of like translate everything else that I've got, which isn't rhyming, into rhymes, and sort of like break it down like that. Is that something that you do, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I try and write as much in plain statements now as possible. I mean, like, wordplay and stuff like does have its uses. Like, obviously, if you did like the entire battle just like making a point, I think it would get a bit like monotonous or whatever.
Yeah.
So you do need to kind of like keep people engaged by changing up the techniques you're using. But yeah, for sure, I try and write as much in like just plain ideas as possible. And yeah, I think that probably is the best way to do it, to write out like the sort of purest, like, how would I just say this if I was speaking to someone? Like, what is it that I actually want to say if we were just like having a non-rhyming argument?
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, definitely like one way to do it is like, you find what the end of the sentence would be, and then like work backwards with the rhymes for that. Like, that's definitely one way to do it. But like, there are words that work better at the end of sentences as punchlines than others for whatever reason. Like, generally, like if you're using like I don't know what they're called, I'm pretty sure they're called like, so is it like a preposition, like me and you? Those are prepositions, right?
I think they're pronouns, maybe.
Are they? Okay, well, that, like, those work really well, like at the end of a sentence.
Yeah,
like,
right, okay.
And there's just like a whole load of words that work really well at the very end. I know this isn't like specifically related to rhyme, but you may want to like, then if like if the purest form of the sentence, like for example, if I wanted to like say to someone that they were like an alcoholic, for example, I might want to say like, the purest form of the sentence might be, you drink so much that it impacts other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
But that's
imagine dropping that as a punchline.
Exactly, right. But it's like, it's I don't know if it's almost like the way that the words sound. I find like that, like soft sounds at the end of punchlines don't hit as hard as like hard sounds, so like hard consonants and stuff.
There's a thing about that in comedy as well, like with joke telling, how like the letter K is apparently the funniest letter, which is why if you drop cunt at the end of something, then not only for the shock factor, but there's also something about the sound that makes it funny, or like fuck, or anything that has a K sound. They're just funnier letters, and some are more whimsical, like B's are quite whimsical, like bubble and things like that. So sorry, go on. Yeah,
no, that's exactly my full point. Like, and a lot of it is like, you can only really find out like through trial and error. And I probably wouldn't, like, if someone asked me to write down like a comprehensive list of all the words at the end of like punchlines at work, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But I think like instinctively I would be able to tell you like what a good and a bad word is to end the sentence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that just comes with like doing it for a very long time. or
I
something.
think, yeah, I think so, and like a lot of it will be instinct, and you know, probably just like ways that you normally speak, and you know that you still get reaction from people when you're just having a conversation, like whether that's a laugh or an agreement, or you know, just someone recognizing that what you're saying, you're wording it well. People appreciate the spoken word just in normal conversation, and so I guess it's like, you know, from years of picking that up and realizing that you don't have to change that much of what you're doing here into rap to keep it consistent and stuff. So yeah, I think it's probably that. I remember someone saying about it's always better to land on a noun. Nouns generally are best at the end, and like an adjective would never work at the end of, or like never. You know, or a verb doesn't really work that much. But nouns are always, and I guess a part of that is to do with maybe imagery. Like for most nouns, it's something that you can conjure an image of, and so maybe it's something to do with that.
I think like most people have like some kind of level of like understanding of it. Like if you ask someone like to identify, or like a group of battle rappers to identify like the most impactful like way to end a sentence, like for a punchline, if it would be like never come back or never return. Yeah. Like I'm pretty sure 90% plus of people will pick never come back. And so I think like people do kind of have like a base level understanding of it. But yeah, there's just like, I guess like when it gets to the more like grey area ones, a lot of the time like I probably wouldn't be able to explain why one is better than the other. It just kind of like feels better. I don't know if that's maybe a touch of the old tism in me, you know, but but like yeah, I don't like smell numbers or anything, but I can like feel consonants. Like,
no, it's I think that's right. And yeah, some words just feel more like a punch, and others feel more like a tickle, and some even feel like a wank. And you know, I think it's like it just complete. It also is down to you know, delivery and stuff like that, and
for sure.
How you drop it on the day, and whether you say the punch like it is a punch, or whether you say it like it's sort of not as hard hitting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never really thought about it, really, I guess. I've only ever sort of, you know, it's probably gone on subconsciously in my head, but I've never actually said to myself, some actual words and sounds work better than others.
I think like bringing some of that stuff from the subconscious like into your conscious decision making process is like a really good way to improve.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because there is going to be like a lot of grey area ones that your subconscious will just kind of like write off as whatever. But like if you actually like sit and think about it, you can kind of like optimize your sentences for want of a better.
What do you think when it comes to purely rhyming? Like since you've been doing it for, you know, longer than I have, and you have got like to a better stage earlier than I have, sort of thing. What are some of your, like, do you have any rules that you feel are unique to you when it comes to rhyming, or things that maybe when other people do them it sort of annoys you, or if they don't do them then they annoy you? Is there anything where you see like things that are your knacks, I guess?
Yeah, I think like the thing that annoys me most is kind of like what we were talking about, like when people write front to back but like can't do it,
and you can tell when you can just tell.
Because like they're attempting to just like kind of do this stream of consciousness thing, but it's like they're saying things that you would like never say in a sentence. Do you know what I mean? So it's like if they're trying to convey an idea, and they're like, I don't know, like right. So just take like the Tony example that I gave you or whatever. The one where mine is, whatever. See my standards, I set them myself, and see when I fail to reach them, I better myself. The fans set your standards, and I bet that it helps that they set them way lower for you than for anyone else. Like if someone is like, oh, see me, I set my standards myself, and yours are flipping rubbish, and I don't even think they should be in discussions with me, cousin. And it's just like, it almost feels like jaggy, like it's like this,
like it's being written as you're listening to it.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. It just like it's like a flat note almost, like in music. Do you know what I mean? It's just it doesn't sound like right. It's like with those people, I would rather you just like take a solid concept for a last line and then expand on that up the way. So just write backwards.
Yeah.
But because that way, like, at least you have a solid punchline that you're going to land on. You're going to land on something. Even if the first 3 lines are, like, complete crap, it's like, at least it's building towards something.
Yeah.
Whereas this, like, you're trying to, like, take some, like, meandering conversational approach to your writing, but you can't pull it off. Like, this doesn't sound anything like a conversation.
Yeah,
that's
it's like a robot or an alien is trying to learn to speak.
It's like Google AI conversation.
And that's when you end up with like Yoda multis as well, where people are like, your facer will punch, you know, or like. In the bin you'll get thrown, and you're like, oh Jesus, mate. And that's one that always fucking feels like a nails on the chalkboard. Basically, as soon as one comes in, even if it's like, you know, nestled away, as sometimes you do when you're writing, and the weaker ones get nestled away within a longer scheme, to sort of like hide the ones you're embarrassed about a bit more. Like when they stick out like a sore thumb. But yeah, it was interesting what you were saying then when you talk about that, your version of the bet that it helps everyone else, and how you think someone else would do it. It's interesting, like, that's something that always helps basically, is like when you actually rhyme more like the idea. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but like saying things like you said, like, I think they're rubbish and they shouldn't be, like flipping cousin or whatever like that, like I'll hit you cousin, like that rhyme, I'll like hit you or flipping cousin or whatever, has nothing to do with the actual final bit. So why would you put the nicer bit that is working towards, that's building the tension for you, why would you put that in the body of the line and omit it in the rhyme itself when you could just include it? And then that builds the tension so much more. Like if you're talking about a specific subject and that's getting rhymed, then people are going subconsciously, they're listening and going, shit, all this is rhyming and it isn't even the punchline yet. It's not even the idea yet, and yet the idea has been built up in the in the rhymes so well. So yeah, I guess that's the thing. Is like, what specifically are you going to talk about in your rhymes? Don't waste that opportunity to get something in that is related to the
it's concept. It's like fat. It's just fat. Like on it, just cut it. Like it's completely unnecessary and doesn't contribute anything to what you're actually trying to say. Yeah. And I think like rhyme is best like when it's not noticed. You know, like when if you don't notice like the rhyme and it does rhyme, then it's working completely as intended. Because if something is, you go in with like a preconceived notion that this is supposed to rhyme and it doesn't rhyme, then you will notice that it doesn't rhyme. Yeah. But if something does rhyme and you don't notice it, then that's perfect. Yeah, that's the rest of it. Yeah, that's something I've said it a few times on here. It's just like it's just it's designed to be noticed and not noticed at the same time. Like you want to notice, so you know, upon revisiting or something, you'll probably hear, oh shit, like that's amazing, and you notice in a good way. But also, it is just like it is a format. It is a way of getting through your information. So like. Yeah, that's interesting that you said that. A really good example of it. Sorry, just quickly, like, and like I know don't want to turn this into like Bender appreciation or whatever, but he has like a 4-bar. I don't know if I can remember like all off the top of my head, so this might be scuffed as fuck. But it's like something. It's like, I'm a supervillain with my arm cocked, spraying at your ride like a car wash. So till my heart stops, bring the dorks, geeks, and hard knocks, 'cause I put an end to more dreams than alarm clocks. Yeah, right? Nice. So like, but you think the multi there is heart stops, alarm clocks, car wash, and it is like for the first 2 lines. Yeah. So he's like, but then the last 2 lines are, so till my heart stops, send the dorks, geeks, and hard knocks, because I put an end to more dreams than alarm clocks. Yeah. So you're like, disguise. It's a 2-syllable multi, and then the last 2 lines are end on the same 2, but are 8-syllable multis. And the first 6 syllables are totally disguised, but it sounds nice, but you don't actually, because your head is in a space where it's like, oh, okay, you've heard like heart stops, car wash, like your head is in like, okay, this is a 2-syllable multi. Yeah. And then the last 2 lines sound really nice, but you don't know why.
Yeah, you can't put your finger on it.
It's like, yeah. It's like that, kind of.
No, I love things like that. I discovered one with a Bender multi a little while ago that I'd never noticed at all, and it was just like nettled in, and it was the I've done it before on this episode, on a different episode, but it was like, thought he'd set a trap to extend the rounds. Do you remember against the Immaculate? He said something like...
yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to have to get it up, it won't take a second. But basically there's like a second...
Is this to break you off in a second flat?
Yeah,
one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's another multi sort of like teased throughout that just sort of like comes up and goes, and I don't know if you'd have noticed it, but he goes, now he wrote some extra raps to switch the limits and mess around, thinks he set a trap on some last minute trick to extend the rounds. I expected that, so let him rap. You won't get your wish now anyhow. Get ready, Mac, they can call you my British mistress when I spread you out in a second flat. So you probably heard it there because I was sort of emphasising it a bit more. I don't know if you noticed it the first time round.
Yeah.
But like,
I never noticed it the
switch
first time.
the limits, minute trick to expect, and then there's also like the way he says "get" is like, so you won't get your wish now anyhow. It's British mistress when I spread you out in a second flat. So like it ends up being something that sounds like extend the rounds, da-da-dow, da-da-dow, but then you realise there's like da-da-da, da-da-dow, da-da-da, like all together, like working in conjunction, that kind of come in at the last minute, and he's got these separate ideas and then puts them all together and goes, for the finale, all these ideas come together like one big thing.
Yeah. Now, he was really the best at like disguising stuff and making it sound natural, and like you don't even realise. I'm sure there's like, that's a beautiful thing, because when you find one of them, like the Alarm Clocks one or that one, you're like, oh shit, I bet you there's like hundreds of these that you've just not noticed. Like,
yeah, this is what I say about him, is like he sort of writes like how The Simpsons writes, or like Shaun, Edgar Wright and what's his name, Simon Pegg, like all these background jokes that you don't even realise are there, and you go, oh shit, I didn't even realise in the back, like, oh, his surname is this and that's a joke on that, and then when you listen to enough Bender and you've watched him as often as we have, then you go, oh fuck, like there's rhymes within rhymes, like this.
He's
is
like
insane.
another one.
Yeah, come on, man. But yeah, he's a tour de force. It's unbelievable, really. Like what's unbelievable, and again, I know we're talking. I don't care. Actually,
fuck it.
It's like having a conversation about art and not going on about Da Vinci every 5 minutes. Like he's gonna come up, any. But like it's amazing how much better he was than almost everyone
else.
Yeah. Like, it's just like you go, oh shit, this guy's clearly like a better writer than most people, and then you go, hang on a sec, I was zoomed in, and then you come out and you go, shit, he's like 10 foot taller. He's mad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely insane, and I feel like this whole podcast could just be going through different Bender battles,
Bender
and stuff
things,
like that.
But it's almost like if you're going to talk about multis, and especially if you want to do like what we're doing, where you're talking about like specific like techniques, of how to like utilize them. Like the best example is always going to be something that Bender said. Yeah. So it's like it's no getting away. It's not like any kind of like if Ilmac. I'm sure Ilmac has a load of like really good ones or whatever. Yeah. But like, I'd imagine like almost always for nearly any technique that's ever been executed with multis, like the best example of it will be Bender, probably. So
name something above you that's blue. And you go, well, I mean the sky, obviously. Yeah, sky. Yeah, I mean, and ceilings sometimes. Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's interesting how like so again, it's conversations I've had with people off of the podcast. I think sometimes it's like it's interesting how your ability of writing isn't parallel to your ability in battling, and I guess that's something you learned, quite early on as well. Like
for sure, yeah.
You when you started, there was definitely like a bit of a lack of connection between your performance and the audience, and like how you were received, even though your writing was like a good quality, but it wasn't getting the stuff that you wanted to across. Like, how much of that? Like, again, is there a moment that you realise that, like, how important the performance was, and like how to carry yourself, and how to, like, not dumb it down for the audience, because I know people hate that term, even though it's like completely apt because it's what you need to do a lot of the time, but like more like spoon feeding concepts rather than just sort of going straight out with a deep cut. Like, can you remember that process?
Yeah, I think like it was really kind of just like a slow one for me, and just like, I guess like you just learn it in stages, right? Like, because when I first came out, I was like garbage. I was just like, oh, I just need to write like the most complex stuff, and that's the best. Because the more complex it is, the better it is.
Yeah,
that's like
definition.
The way I just thought it was like just a black and white rule. Like, whoever writes the most complex stuff is the winner. Because why wouldn't it be? Like, that's such like a backwards way of thinking.
Well, it's like, the kind of thing that everyone like me and Theo thought the same thing. Like, this has got to have like a 20-syllable multi, otherwise, what's the point? And you realise, no, less is more, and all this kind of thing. And it's the obvious stuff that takes longer to sit in. For
sure. And then you're like, I realise, generally, like in general, like volume, like a lot of volume is better than less volume, because the stuff that I say louder gets more reaction than the stuff that I say quieter.
Yeah.
And then you kind of learn, you need to vary your volume and not be too loud, so that you have somewhere to go for your crescendos.
Yeah.
And then bring it back down. And then you learn, like, to put, like, simple stuff behind complex stuff.
Yeah.
And then that kind of leads on, you're like, contrast just works in everything. You should always be, like, the technique that you use for the next 8 bars should be in complete contrast to the one previous.
Yeah.
Just like, I wouldn't say like there was a point like where like I woke up from a dream and then I just realized something came to me and then it all changed. It's just like very slow, gradual like process of like how to get better. Like, if there was one turning point, it would be like the Bender thing, like when I did the Dr. Robert Oppenheimer, but that was more just like, it made me realize what was possible, and then I just kind of like, just kind of worked the rest out.
Yeah. No, that's interesting as well. Like, there was, if you looked at one of your old battles, like when your first battle, for example, and you looked at your battle now, it's crazy to see the difference in just like, interestingly, like I still see self-belief in you then. Like, you still seem to really stand behind your stuff and deliver it with conviction. It's just something that just had to click in your head, I guess, and it's the thing that happens to all of us.
I think like for sure, like part of it is just like, I'd say the one thing that I'm better at than anyone else in the world, and I totally believe this, is thinking that I'm not good. Like, I don't think there's anyone else in the world that thinks they're not good as well as me. Like, and it's not like consciously, like, I can appreciate like stuff that I've said is like objectively good, but like certainly like through my formative years or whatever, I never had like a problem in my head with saying that was shit, he was much better than you. And then that kind of made it easier, I think, for me to then be like, okay, so how do I improve?
Right.
Where I think like most battle rappers have this like defense mechanism where like they don't like the thought of losing, so they'll do like any kind of mental gymnastics to make it that they won in their head.
Yeah. And
because they can always do that, there's not as much incentive to improve because they are always happy with how they performed. Like, but I'm really good at not being happy with how I performed. Like, so I think that's like a major contributing factor to like just always trying to get better and never really worried about winning or losing, but like just assuming that like winning would come as a byproduct of always getting better.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do you know what? I kind of empathise with that myself, actually. Like, I'm not saying I'm as good at it as you are. You sound like a fucking pro.
I'm the best at it.
That's the only thing you are confident in.
Yeah, the only thing I'm confident. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I definitely like. Well, it took me years to get over like my own your inbuilt defensiveness and your like defense system and the sort of, you know, the security guards of your brain that don't allow bad things in. You know, from what you've said, you might not relate to this in the same way, but I think for me, and like you say, for most other people, a lot of performers, especially in battle rap and also in comedy, get to this point where they've got all these security guards around the brain, and if like a negative bit of criticism comes in, then they're like, sorry mate, you're not on the list and you got to fuck off. And then they go and then when someone goes, that was amazing, you go, all right, this way, and then they get let into the VIP lounge and get a blowjob. But like I think it took me a long time. It's weird to say this because it's basically agreeing with you, but like it took me a long time to get to the point where my brain only started letting in everyone it was kicking out before. And then everyone who was getting in, all the positive things, they get like, they get let in, but they're sort of treated a bit like shit. And they get if someone goes, someone could categorically come up to me and go, you are the best rapper I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of rappers, buddy. Then I'll go, right, okay, you're in the head. And then he'll just get like sort of like kicked into the shit little section, and then there'll be one comment on a thing. Like the first one was face to face. This one's a comment on a YouTube battle that says, "This isn't his best," and then that gets coming brought in on one of those like thrones carried by 4 other men. And like, he's just like
rolls his throne.
Like that's how my head now does it. And weirdly, I think maybe that is better for creation, like for creatives, like, and that's why you always get, depressed creatives who are, the upper echelons often have issues with depression and stuff, and it's probably due to that. Like, you never attain this ideal that you have in your head of what quality is, and you deify other people to such a high extent that you'll never reach that level, and so. But people tell you do, and you get success, and you win battles, and people, do say good things.
But you never really believe them.
Yeah, you're like they think that because they think they should. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at DNA, I've never seen anyone happier. Never seen a happier person. So like, I don't know, who's the real winner? You know what I mean?
I was just thinking, oh shit, he's gonna comment that, and then I went, he's not listening to this. He's not gonna have this on. What's he doing? What's he working out? I'm gonna listen to that new Shuffle podcast. I think Soul's on. It's sick. This is gonna be dope.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting, that thing. But it is absolutely necessary, like getting over your own ego and. Finding a way to get thick skin. You need people who are going to tell you that stuff is crap, even if your stuff isn't crap. At least that makes you think about it and come up with your own justifications for it. I know that is okay, and I don't mind taking a hit here on something in terms of quality and figuring out what your own line is, I guess.
For sure. And all jokes aside, like, I know that like I'm not terrible, like, consciously. Like, it's not. What I'm not saying is like advice is just to go through life like never believe in anything positive that anyone says about you in the name of like self-improvement or whatever. Yeah. Exactly, right? That's a horrible advice. So I'm not saying that, but I'm saying as like a thought experiment, like after you do not just anything in battle, but just like anything, like actively seek out like what you think was bad about it. Don't just like focus only on the positives. And yeah, it might mean that like you're not as living in like whatever blissful ignorance or whatever, but then you just like, you're sort of like stay stationary if you don't do that. I feel like just being very honest and like harshly honest with yourself is just like a good policy for life. Obviously, like, I don't think I'm terrible at like battle rap.
Yeah,
that would be ridiculous.
Alright.
But no, I'm just saying, like I don't think I'm terrible, but like I definitely actively like look for things that I did badly and try and correct them. and I think that's a good policy for life.
Yeah, that's how you get a perfectly straight line, is from coming back to and finding every single little bit. Like, if you draw a circle, you can go, yeah, that's a circle, or you can go, that's in no way a perfect circle. It needs to be. There's always going to be, edges and stuff that you need to work out. So yeah, 100%. It is interesting though. It's one of the. I think it's one of the hardest things to get over for a lot of people, especially when it comes from the outside. Like, figuring yourself out, even if you're very defensive, you're still going to be doing that, hopefully, to some extent. But when it comes from the outside, and a lot of things to do with what I do in like script writing and stuff, which you've done a bit of as well, right? You've done a bit of like script writing before.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Maybe I just assumed that. And but when you do script writing, like, the first thing you want to do is have it watched as a film or as a TV show. You want people to have it on screen and go, oh, I get this. But you can't do that because that takes time. And so what you do is you send it out to people who you know and you hope will give you feedback. But what you don't really want feedback. You want people to go, this is the best thing I've ever read.
And then give them the Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. They sit in front of you and read all 100 pages, and they slowly take off their glasses like Morgan Freeman and go, my God, this is some of the best writing I've ever known. And then you go, well, thank you. Now I don't have to make it, but I know that it's good at least. And but obviously what happens is people normally go, yeah, it's good. And you go, why'd you say it like that? They go, no, it's good. Like, that, there's some stuff needs ironing out, and then your head goes, no, it doesn't. You've misunderstood what's happened here. I've written a first and final draft in one sitting, and actually, what are the chances that the first thing is the best thing? Well, it turns out quite likely, because this is ready to go on screen. And they go, well, no, because this is wrong, and then and it doesn't matter what people tell you. A lot of the time, it takes time for you to get to that point. It is, I think, the hardest lesson to learn, but one of the things that makes you probably the best version of yourself as a writer, as you
I think that's why I definitely did some of that, sort of just showing your bars to people for self gratification when I was a lot younger, but fairly. It's sometimes later, not recently, but sometimes a little bit later, post 2014, maybe up to 2015, 2016, I would show people some of my bars, but it would never be for feedback. It would be a few days before the battle, just to show them. Yeah. So I would never I have a very select group of people, and they don't really battle rap. Not that they don't they don't battle rap actively. They like battle rap. That I'll show my bars to because I'm friends with them, and I trust them
Paul,
to tell me.
Presumably.
Yeah, and Paul and a guy called Patrick as well. I show a lot of my bars. So he doesn't write or rap or anything, but I can trust that he'll be honest with me and tell me this isn't good or this is good. But honestly, I don't really trust anyone, very, very few people, to give me honest feedback, because I'll tell you why. Because people used to send their bars a lot to me. I used to get a lot of people would send me their bars. No one sends me their bars anymore. Absolutely no one. Because when they would send me their bars, I would tell them XYZ is really good, ABC is terrible and you need to change it, and whatever EFG is, they're okay, but you need to spruce it up a bit. Yeah. And no one wants to hear that. Very few people actually want to hear feedback. Just like you're saying, they just want you to say, "You've written Life is Beautiful." It's unbelievable. I was crying when I was reading it, dude. Crying. It's I don't know, man.
No, I know what you mean, and I feel the same way. I can't say anything. I never have given. As far as everyone who sent me their material is concerned, they've written perfect things every single time. Because I just go, yes, good. Especially if not Theo. If Theo, my writing partner, sends me something that I don't like, then I'll be honest and I'll say, and that wasn't always the case as well, because it's awkward. But after a while, we've been working together long enough, I go, I don't think I don't really feel this or it is good or whatever. But
Yeah.
most of the time, I just sort of think like, if I give this person, like, I know what their ego's like. If I give this person, they just might not talk to me again. I might lose them as a friend. Like, if I said what I was really thinking, which is like, sometimes this is shit. Like, this is really bad. I can't believe you've written this. Like, tripe. But yeah, it's one of those things where you've really got to walk like a fine line. I would love to send you stuff and have you pick at it and like, you know, pull it apart and stuff. I think maybe I did at one point. Jack Sexton, you gave me a rhyme for it. It was that was one of my top moments.
Was it the Fight Club one?
Yes, I'm glad you remember. Yeah. This was amazing. This was so quick as well. This was between, like, any rhymes I come up now. If I wanted to like finesse it, I would just work on it myself, and I would just like sit there and just go like, I will find a way to word this. But like, at that point, I was just literally like, I sort of offered it out to you as like a sort of joke, like, oh, you know, but I bet you can't do this kind of thing. And it was it was rhyming. It was all about Fight Club, and it was said something about like Jack's low self-esteem.
Recipe.
Yeah, and you said, and I said I need something that rhymes with low self-esteem that is to do with
Fight Club.
Fight Club, and you went within a minute, soap recipe, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what are the rules there then? I mean, like, how have you done that? Like, and this is something I say about a few times, but it feels like you paused time, went back to when they were writing Fight Club, and went, do you know, I think this should be based around soap, and they've gone, what? What are you on about? And you go, look, I'm just the messenger, and then you leave, and it's like Inception. They go, I think soap is a good... And then you come back and you go, soap recipe, and I've seen the film, and now I know it's got soap in it, and I go, have you done that? What the fuck is that about? And
sometimes you just like, I don't know, I almost feel like if you don't think of one instantly, it takes ages.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I find like if I am ever like looking for like very close multis, I either think of one instantly or it takes like hours. It never takes like 5 minutes.
I think sometimes that's also to do with like just how close in terms of sounding exactly similar two things are. Like, so if something in both of the multis end with a K sound, then you're probably going to clock it sooner because the sound is fresh in your head. But if it ends with like an M or something softer or like a P, then because you have to sort of like, we've got traditional and perfect rhyming stuck so much in our heads that you have to sort of remove yourself and just have the sounds going around rather than the words, but like the sounds going around. And that's when it takes a longer time to sort of like clock it, I think. But yeah, I'm the same. I think now when I get stuck on something, I end up I'm usually here, I'm a little desk, and I will sit here like this for about, sometimes honestly like 45 minutes to an hour, just thinking on that one rhyme and going back over and maybe like you say, rewording elements slightly to see how much leeway there is here. Sometimes weirdly making the rhyme longer is easier in a weird way, like, because you can be more loose and bouncy with it rather than being straight, straight and exact and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing. What do you think in terms of like I don't know how many episodes you've listened to of this, but there was one where we talk about stress patterns and like, you know, in a way to recognise multisyllabics, there are stress patterns, and you know, something like iPhone is duh, and that's like, I can't remember, I think it's called, I called it like a goalpost rhyme because there's like two sticking out things. And then you have things like motorway where it's like a down arrow, so it's like a stressed, unstressed, stressed.
Yeah.
And then there are some that are like OAP, which is like a trident rhyme because it's like bang, bang, bang in a row. And there are loads and loads of different types of things, and there are some that are more bouncy, there are some that are like rigid, some that have more leeway than others. Like, are you ever conscious of putting together one of those versus not one of those? Like, you know, I want to have something that feels bouncy, or like, do you have a signature sort of thing that you think is unique to you that you use a bit more than other people?
I think it depends kind of like what the type of stuff that you're writing. So if you're going for more like sort of conventional, like wordplay punchline, I find that generally the stuff that works best is either like no stressed syllables, or no unstressed syllables, or if you are going to have like an unstressed, have it between two that are the same. So like etch a sketch. So you've got right. Unstressed Like, I feel like unstressed syllables you get more leeway with them when you're being conversational in terms of like reaction. But that's just because when I think that's more just like a function of like the way you would talk in conversationals. Like you say words that aren't necessarily stressed, like the, you know what, you're never going to stress the, and it's like get to the point. Like the the is never going to be stressed even if you are talking in conversation. So people just subconsciously give you leeway with that. But like if you're going more punchline, I feel like it's best to work with like non-stressed syllables. So like OAP, do re mi, like that type of thing. Like, so I think it depends on the type of content that you're writing as to what you should go. I mean, you can do punchlines like, and like, I mean, this podcast, like going into the very minutiae of multis, like we are going to be like splitting hairs. It's not going to be like this is going to make or break like your like anything, but it's just exactly. If you do want to like optimize everything like down to the last percentage point, then I would say tend to go with like unstressed, but tend to go with no unstressed syllables if you're writing in kind of punchline format. And then if you're writing conversational, I would say that unstressed syllables are actually better, because when you're speaking, like if I was saying OAP, like conversationally, I'd say it like that, OAP. But if you're saying it in rap, you punch every syllable, like OAP, and it almost like takes you out of the fact it's conversational.
Yeah, sure.
So, I think it just depends on
the context. That's really interesting. I wonder if we like looked back at like your biggest room shakers, like if there was a specific, if we'd see a correlation and that kind of thing. The only one that comes to mind is like the Against Raptor with like the Tomb Raider, and like that's like the last one is not necessarily stressed, the Tomb Raider, but like it's kind of half stressed in that you still have to like keep it the same basically. It's always
it's the end of the rhyme, so it has to be like that. Yeah. It doesn't need to be the same consonant, but it has to be that vowel sound.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's sort of like 2.5 stressed syllables, and like that one goes down so well, and it's because like it's like bang bang bang. It's like it feels like you're just going bang 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 rather than like ba 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 bang, ba da da da.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's ooh a. There's not like ooh a, and then can get away with like a non-a sound just to drop it in the middle. Everything's ooh a because it is like that Tomb Raider, like just punching it. So I think like but generally, but then like if you look at probably my biggest like conversational like room shaker or whatever, it would probably be the one against Shocks, the one about if he shocks in your thunder, because I'm definitely seeing him, and the noise you make will let us know how far away from me he is, which is absolutely like nowhere near a perfect line, perfect multi. It's miles off a perfect
The M
multi.
and the S is such a differential.
But it's close enough, and there's enough unstressed syllables in there where I almost think it adds to it, because you're not forcing it to be perfect. Yeah. It just sounds more conversational.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with like comedic ones as well, it's sometimes better to have more like bouncy rhymes, like da 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 is like such a tried and tested style of like, you know, delivering a joke. Da 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 da. It's like rhythmic, and the humour comes from that a bit more. But then more punchy ones are kept with more things like that. I was going to ask, actually, I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I wonder if I could ask you, like, to give your best pitch of explaining what a multi is. And the reason, like, obviously I've done that 1,000 times in this, but you always know that I'd say these get about 400 to 500 listeners per episode, like after about 90 days or whatever. And I know that not everyone listening definitely gets what a multi is. And they could have listened to every single one, but I know that some people are thinking what they're doing is a multi, but they're either doing that thing that when you start, like where you go Christmas tree and eat some peas, and you go, oh, that's a multi because it's not perfect and it's got the same amount of syllables, but obviously they're not recognising that the Chris and the eat are different. So is there, like, I'm thinking maybe this will be a thing that I do with every person who comes on now, like just get them to explain what it is, and maybe in that voice they hear one time more than they did when I said it. So yeah, it might actually be a good sort of like outro. I think we're sort of probably rounding up to about an hour now. It's coming up to about an hour and 15. So if you could give your best explanation of what a multi is, and then I'm gonna do the quiz and I'll sing us out. Cool,
I'll try. Right, I think the best way to explain it is imagine a square, right, cut into four sections, so it's like a grid, right? Right, this is terrible already. Let me preface this by saying, right, start again. Every sound in the English language has a vowel sound in it, right? Every syllable has a vowel sound. Like, in Y, it's I. In, like, bay, it's A, right? So it's very easy to, like, work out what the vowel sound is. Now imagine you've got, like, a square, and you cut it into four sections, so it's like a grid. And then in the top two, you have like a two-syllable word, and in the bottom two, you have a two-syllable word. Mm-hmm. The vowel sounds out of each of the words should correspond in the same column. So just write A and column A, and then Y in column 2. And then you can have say Y in the top, or like may try in the bottom. So you just fill it in, and then you can extend it to as many columns as you want, but the one above, like each of the rows have to have like the same vowel sound as it's above it, and then you can just fill in the words from there. That is the most fucking awful way to explain it, like verbally.
People who do get it are gonna be like, "Oh, I've been doing it wrong then."
Yeah, no, I feel like if I could like draw it as an example, like it would make. I'm not very good at like explaining things to people verbally. I have to always like draw it like a child, like show them. But no, like a sunflower in the corner.
It's actually really interesting that you use that imagery, because sometimes that is literally how I see it, almost like a roulette wheel where you've got like and sometimes if you're trying to get the next syllable, or like if you're piecing together a multi out of like individual words rather than like one long word, you sort of see it like rushing through, and you go, oh, what's a next word, and you go, that's the one that fits. That rhymes, and doing it like that. Yeah.
Forget the grid. Forget I mentioned the grid.
I'll delete this episode.
Yeah, delete the grid. The grid never happened. I don't even know what grid you keep banging on about. But like, just break if you just break a word up into syllables, like put like a / between the syllables. If you can't identify what a syllable is, then like I can't help you. But like break it up into syllables, identify the vowel sound in each, and then write like the rhyme underneath it, and just make sure the vowel sounds match in each syllable.
And when it comes to unstressed syllables,
trying to explain that to people,
because that's one of the difficulties, isn't it? That like it doesn't matter as much that they don't match perfectly. That it's not like the same rhyme in the way that the stressed ones are.
But it does here.
Yeah.
It's like what? I think it's almost like... So a good example is, like, obviously I don't know this story, I wasn't there firsthand, but apparently when my mum was younger, she tried to learn piano, and she took piano lessons for like 5 or 6 years, but she was tone deaf. She's tone deaf, so she couldn't play the piano.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess she could work out like the mechanics of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you like played her a piece of music that was in tune and a piece of music that was out of tune, she wouldn't be able to tell you which was which. And you can't teach that to someone if they're tone deaf.
Yeah.
And I do think there is like some equivalent of that, like with rhyme. Obviously, everyone knows that like box rhymes with fox, but like once you get into like multisyllabics, I do think there are some people, and there are some battle rappers that are like just tone deaf with multis.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. I think that is the case. I think your earphones may have stopped working, by the way.
Yeah, they have. Sorry.
That's all right. No, that's all right. We're coming towards the end of it now, anyway. But yeah, I think there must be something in it. It's all about like the pressure of having to basically go, oh, everything I thought I learned about rhyme it feels like it doesn't mean anything now. This is a whole different type of rhyme, and it's not perfect, and it doesn't work how I want it to, like right away. So the instinct to just carry on doing what you were doing is too great. And you don't need to be amazing at multis in order to be a good rapper. Like there are people who do monosyllabic stuff now and then, like much more noticeable in battles where there's no music to hide behind, or not hide, but like to mask it with. But like in tracks, there are loads of amazing musicians. You know, first of all of music that isn't rap, for example, but like also just like there are rappers who don't need to do it and still make.
One of my favorite.
Sorry,
Biggie is one of my favorite rappers.
I don't think I've heard of him.
All right.
Big E, as in big space E, like Big L.
You're trolling, right?
Where is he from?
Are you trolling? Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G.
That's a fun name. That's a clever name, actually. Biggie Smalls. I'm trolling.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But that's not fair though, because I said, "Are you trolling?" and you said no. So that's against the rules.
Sorry, I didn't sign a waiver. I didn't. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. But you know what I mean. Like it's not necessary. I do actually strongly believe that it is necessary in battle rap though, and I don't buy it that people are like, "Oh, what? Just because I'm not doing multis, I'm not good." And it's like, well, yeah. In battle, like you don't need to do it in music, but in battle rap, it does get a multi has its own rhythm, and it's like an inbuilt rhythm that like creates a musicality to the battle.
Yeah,
it makes it like sound nice, like on its own.
Yeah,
but you can't do that if you're just rhyming like cat with hat or whatever.
Yeah. No, exactly. Completely agree. Right. Okay. Well, this has been great, mate. I'm just going to do the old quizaroo.
Sure.
Don't you dare try to answer any of these, because, you know... Oh, I didn't pick a winner for the last one. Oh, no one wins this week. You're all shite anyway. Right, okay. All right. So it's going to be a slightly shorter one this week, because I forgot to do it. Okay. Right, okay. No, I can't do this one. This one's stupid. Right, I'm doing this one. Okay. So, it's 10 long. And you think them in your head, Jed, if you get a good one. All right.
Okay.
Number 1, wood pigeon. You know, like a wood pigeon you find in the woods, for Christ's sakes. Well, this one, the clue is bye. Bye. Fucking hell. That didn't help. Bye, as in B-Y-E. Okay.
I'm just going to write down the answers.
Uh-oh. Very confident. Not going to write down what I think that. No, I'm going to write down the answers.
The correct answers, yeah. Not the incorrect answers.
All right, number 2 is woolly jumper. Woolly jumper. And the clue is clones. Okay. All right. Okay. Then the next one is sugar baby. I didn't even know that was a term, but it's like, what if you've got a sugar daddy, then you're a sugar baby. I didn't know that. And the clue is accident. Accident. Sugar baby. You got that one? Yeah. Oh, I don't believe it. Right, okay. Number 4 is pointillism, which is an artistic movement, apparently. I don't know. It's like where they do it with dots. And they paint with dots. Actually, I prefer voyeurism, actually. But this is a bit more obscure, and sometimes it's nice to point out words that I've recently learned. Anyway, and the clue is band. You're going to get that straight away, Jed, I reckon. Did you get it straight away?
I don't think so. Sorry.
Ah, that's interesting.
Band.
BAND, yeah.
Ah, right.
Not like,
yeah.
You know, of course you're thinking that, aren't you? Because you get kicked out of battle rap sort of. Do you remember?
Good one.
All right, and then the next one is poisonous fish, which is a genre of fish. And the clue is, I didn't mean to say that. Poisonous fish. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. All right, that's a little bit cryptic, but it's all right. I reckon people get it. All right, then Maoism is number 6, which I actually don't know what it is. I know I think it's a religion, maybe. It sounds
Taoism.
like.
I imagine Maoism something to do with Chairman Mao.
Oh shit, yeah. All right, let's say Taoism, which is a. Do you know what I really love for Chairman Mao is dairy cow.
That is a really good one, yeah.
I really like that. Yeah. All right, Maoism and Taoism, and the clue is speakers. Speakers. Okay, all right. Next one is Morticia, as in that one off the Addams Family, and the clue is accoladed person. Now, this is one of those where the answer has got a cheeky tail syllable at the beginning. It's got a cheeky sort of like unstressed syllable. So if Morticia is the rhyme scheme, the answer on this one is like, you know, record picture. Do you know what I mean? So that there's like a little syllable in front of it, which makes it, I think, more difficult. And this is for the patrons, and they really do get a higher level of quiz. In fact, it's actually only as low as $9.99 a month if you want the quizzes, which a lot of people have described as a steal.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm not. But it is, you know, it's patreon.com/shuffle_t. And you can get, you know, rhymes of this quality all the time. And then water python is number 8. Water python, a type of snake I learned about recently, and the clue is a place, PLACE, a location. It's just the name of a place, and that can be as big as small as you think it is. And then number 9 is poor conditions, poor condition, and the clue is living thing, a living thing. Okay, all right. And then number 10. Is forcing a smile, and the clue is free spirit. Free spirit. How many of those do you think you got right, Jed?
I feel like, well, definitely 4.
Okay.
Yeah, 100% 4.
Oh, I'm really interested to make sure that they are.
They definitely are. If they're not the right answer, you're wrong, honestly.
Then have I got something? You got to rewrite the book. Yeah, it's interesting. I never really talk about the quiz on here. I just do the quiz and go on to the next one. But it's really fun because like people do send through their own things, and sometimes the answer is different to what I've got, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to give you that.
Yeah.
Because that is fucking good. Like the time is money one for Light and Fluffy. I've remembered that the guy who sent one in he had Strike It Lucky. I was like, that's really good. You strike it lucky, and it's really, really solid. So I gave him the point. I can't remember who that was. It was probably Ian Wood, who listens every week. Fuck it, you've won, Ian, again. You've won. Congrats, mate. I'm really impressed with you. So, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on, mate. This has been a delight for the senses.
It's a pleasure, man. There's not really that many podcasts you can come on and talk about the minutiae of Maltese.
Yeah, and it's mad that people still listen to it after we've. Yeah. I've just had the same conversation with either myself or other of my mates 13 times. So yeah, that's good, isn't it?
It's like, yeah, there will be some people out there that are, you know, into anything.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen this shit on Pornhub. If they can watch that, they can hear this.
That's where this is getting uploaded, right?
2 young studs wank off over wordplay.
Yeah, just saying on the Zoom call. What are you doing here, Step, bro?
Fucking hell. Excellent. Excellent. Right, well, I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to keep you on for a second so I can check you've got the answers right.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. Love you, everyone, for listening. And fuck off.